Hey guys, Mike here from Lunch Money Comics with a short video for you. I just traded for an iconic Bronze Age comic that I've wanted for a very long time, or should I say it's a Silver Age comic. I'll explain a lot more about that in a second. I'm pretty excited to share it with all of you, but I also got a ton more comic books from all sorts of different places, including the mail, and one of those is actually a bit of a mystery I'm hoping one of you can help me solve. Before I get into all that, you know the drill. If you like this sort of stuff and you want to support the channel, head on down. Please hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. Let's jump right into it. I mentioned I get things in the mail often, and they usually come through my local comic book shop, His and Her Comics in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Well, there were several packages waiting for me, and this was one of them. It was a large package full of comic books with a nice note. So let me read the note first. Hey Mike, love the videos, got some Superman, X-Men, and indie #1s. Also, one thing I won't spoil, would love to be featured in a video. We'll come back to this note in a second, because what was in the package, we have some John Byrne Superman #1, of course. We have Captain Savage and his Battlefield Raiders. We have The Scorched #1. This is by Image Comics. I know nothing about it, but you see Spawn right here. Let me know if you know about this series in the comments. We also have this one, Regarding the Matter of Oswald's Body. This is by Boom Studios. Again, no idea. Happy to check it out. In all 5 issues of this 5-part series, X-Men, Emperor, Vulcan. Vulcan being the youngest Summers brother you see right there. I've never read this series, but I'm an X-Men fan, so all 5 issues are right here, which is excellent. Very cool Rachel Summers cover right there. Yeah, these are pretty awesome. So who sent this to me? Well, going back to the note, the person wanted a shout out. There's no name on this. Not only that, but the package they sent, the return address, no name there either. In fact, the name of the town wasn't there. I had to look it up based on the zip code and saw it was from Ithaca, New York. So I would love to give you a shout out. Please identify yourself down in the comments so I can thank you properly. Thank you so much for this. I just wish I had a name to go with the amazing gift. There were also 2 packages from Amazon waiting for me, and inside were 4 volumes of a graphic novel for kids. It was called Pacey Packer Unicorn Tracker by J.C. Phillips. And within there was a note right here, and I gotta read this. It says, "Hi Mike, love your channel. Saw an episode with Batgirl comics that aren't age appropriate for your girl. Try these. I went to high school with the author-artist in the 80s. She lives near Hartford now. From Richard Chappell Jr." So how cool is that, guys? This was a gift not for me, but for my daughter. This viewer, Richard, saw that recently I talked to my channel. I got some Batgirl graphic novels, definitely too adult for my little girl. So he found these and thought I had to send them to me, and that was really cool, guys. And I'd love to show them off to you right now, but my daughter scoffed them up immediately. She's been reading them. They're in her room, exactly where there should be. Also cool that the author and artist is from New England. Very, very cool. One other thing I want to point out, guys, I think it's really important to expose kids to this medium of graphic novels or visual storytelling. You know, for some kids, they have trouble reading, not only, reading comprehension, but some kids have a really hard time with visualization and imagination. So it's really good to have this type of storytelling accessible for kids. Also, for all of us who want the hobby to live on, it's great that kids actually get to see an art-based medium storytelling like this. And here's the thing, it's gigantic right now. I'm not sure a lot of people know this, but one of the most popular titles that my daughter reads and all of her friends at school are a series of graphic novels by Raina Telgemeier. She makes all of her stuff for young adults and kids, and it's absolutely massive. It's great to see this stuff, and I'm always excited to find new stuff like this Pacey Packer for my young daughter to read. So Richard, thank you so much. Very generous of you and very, very thoughtful. My daughter certainly appreciates it. The last thing I got in the mail, I actually knew was coming because the person who sent it to me reached out to me beforehand on Instagram. It's someone by the name of Jason Shaw, who now lives in Virginia, but is originally from Western Massachusetts, where I live right now. And Jason created a comic book, and he asked me if I would like to check it out. I've mentioned this on my channel in the past, guys. If you are a comic book creator and you just want to send me something for me to check it out and see if I like it, again, no obligation here, no paid promotion. Feel free to. I really enjoy seeing this stuff, and hopefully I can give a little bit of access to it on my channel. I'm happy to, but that's especially true when it's something that comes from a place as good and wholesome as Jason's. So Jason wrote me this very nice letter. The top part is about living in Western Massachusetts and liking the channel, but this second paragraph explains where it came from, and I think this is very important. The character and concept was originally conceived to be used in classroom instruction. As a high school English teacher, I've observed an increasing number of students struggling both academically and emotionally. So I created Snow Monkey, a character who doesn't have all the angles figured out, but is learning to face her fears and find her strength as a reflection of those students. Yeah, Jason is a high school English teacher, and he thought of this character to help students struggling with all of the problems that come with being in high school these days. And the comic book character he came up with is this. This is Snow Monkey, number 1 of a planned 4-part, at least starting series. And it's about a character, a human girl, not a real snow monkey, who has this helmet, which is ancient. And this ancient helmet's been worn by many warriors over millennia, and whoever wears the helmet gets all of the abilities of anyone who wore it beforehand, not just their fighting prowess, but also their experiences. And this young girl who's struggling with a new school, whose father may or may not be evil, also has this helmet and is a superhero. And I gotta tell you guys, people send me this stuff, and I always love seeing the amazing talent that goes into this. You know, the amount of moxie, the amount of guts that you have to make something like this is incredible, let alone the amount of work to get it published, you know, in a physical thing. But I gotta tell you guys, not only is the story great and intriguing, and I'm drawn in, look how amazing the art is. You know, the story by Jason's great, but let's see, the art is by Hubert Kahn Michael. Fantastic art. Excellent, excellent, excellent. This looks like someone who absolutely could be working for DC or Marvel right now. I'm very intrigued by this. I can't wait to read more. So Jason, I like this period, but I love where it's coming from. The fact you did it with your students in mind is fantastic. He also sent me a couple other things in the package. A cool sticker, which is going right to my daughter. And this little card here talking about when it's releasing, which is very soon. I think it's May 7th, 2025 is when it comes out. And there's a little QR code here, which I can only assume brings you to where you can buy this. So either way, guys, I'll put a link down below. Jason, thank you so much for this. I really enjoyed the read. I can't wait to read more, and I love hearing where this came from. I always love seeing the amazing talent and hard work that goes into this stuff, and you never know, guys, which one of these comic creators might be the next big thing. So as I've also mentioned in the past, although His and Her Comics acts as my post office, I feel kind of bad about it. I feel a little guilty, so I make sure that every time that I go up to pick up mail, I make sure to buy something from the shop. The owner, Nishan, jokes that he should tell people to send things to the store because I will keep buying stuff. That's totally fine because they have fantastic comic books. He had recently gotten in some great collections of Bronze and Silver Age comics, including some Silver Age X-Men. I've recently said I've decided to try to finish the whole run of X-Men, including all the Silver Age books, issues 1 to 66. This is one I did not have yet, and it is in fantastic condition. It's this is X-Men number 30 from 1967, written by Roy Thomas. Covers actually by Jack Kirby and a few other people, so that's kind of cool. This is a non-key issue. Nothing of note really happens in it, but it's a pretty sharp copy. All those dark colors still look fantastic, barely any color breaks, and I got it for $35. So another X-Men book to add to my Silver Age collection. And again, if you guys keep sending me stuff, I'm going to keep buying stuff from His and Her Comics to show them off on the channel. So I guess it's a win-win for everybody. Happy to add this to my X-Men collection. So next up, I have a stack of comics I got at a local collectible store called Zombie Hideout in Springfield, Massachusetts. I've mentioned this place on my channel in the past. It's a massive store full of all sorts of collectibles. Tons of Funko Pops, action figures, trading card games, and a ton of comic book back issues. It's a really fun place to go and pick through those long boxes and find some gems. I love going there, and I've done several videos on this place in the past, but the reason I was there was actually I was in the area picking up a bicycle for my wife. Yeah, I saw on Facebook Marketplace someone was selling a pretty nice bike. She's been looking for one. I head on down to Springfield, and then the person notifies me that they're an hour away. I had an hour to kill. Hey, Zombie Hideout's right there. Pretty happy to check it out. So I did, and ended up with a little stack of comics. Now, what's so cool about this place is, you know, almost everything's back issues and they're priced really cheap. Basically, if the comic book is loose, it's 50 cents. If it's in a bag without a board, it's $1. And if it's bagged and boarded, it's $3. And if you get 4, you get a 5th one for free. That was a mouthful. All you need to know is that if you get 4 comics, you get 1 for free. And they also have some comic books that are priced slightly higher. So I ended up in that quick hour with a little stack of comics I'm going to go through quickly. Starting with this one. This is X-Men Annual number 15 from 1991. I've told people before that I'm collecting that whole run of X-Men. I pretty much have everything from the Chris Claremont run all the way up to 500. I'm only missing a few issues. The other day I was reorganizing my X-Men comics, and for some inexplicable reason, I couldn't find this book. Here's the thing. I remember buying this book when I was a kid. I don't know where it is. I suspect it's in my childhood long box, which is kind of buried. I still have my long box as a kid full of pretty much all the comics I had undisturbed. Yeah, I've added a few comics and taken some away, but for the most part, it's intact. It might be a fun video sometime for me to go through that just to see the crazy stuff that I collected. It's probably in there. Either way, guys, it's buried. I saw this. It's a really nice high-grade condition. I figured I'd pick it up. Happy to get this and add it again to my collection. Staying on the X-Men train, we have this. This is Uncanny X-Men #1 from 2013. So this is a series that takes place right after the events of Avengers versus X-Men, this huge battle between those two teams, which, spoiler alert if you haven't read it, towards the end there, Cyclops, who has basically been consumed by the Phoenix Force himself, kills Professor X. It's a pretty shocking moment. At the end of the story, he basically realizes he screwed up and he goes to jail. Well, this series, one of many series that sort of rebooted all these titles after Avengers vs. X-Men, he escapes from jail, starts a new team, and it's a more militaristic, more serious version of the X-Men team. He's not a villain, but he isn't really a nice guy. He's got his new costume here with the X visor. And he brings together a pretty cool team, including Magneto. And this is the first time Magneto wears his white armor. A lot of people love the white armor. I actually like it quite a bit. As good as this classic is, he does look pretty snazzy in that white suit. So this is the first white suit Magneto. And again, it's a very cool series. I haven't actually read the whole thing, and I don't remember having this book. I might have a variant of it. Happy to pick this one up, guys. Again, $3. Another title that came out around the same time was this. This is the all-new X-Men #1. And in this story here, the Beast, that everyone knows, Furry Beast, undergoes another mutation, which he thinks is threatening his life. Seeing all the awful things that have happened to the mutants lately, all the things that Cyclops did that was bad, he decides to go back in time to the 60s to get the original X-Men team, young and idealistic and inherently good, and he brings them to the future to try to save mutantdom. Basically, to show the X-Men the way they're supposed to be, and these 5 original X-Men are then known as the time-displaced X-Men. The original team, still young, now in modern times, and they've appeared in lots of stories after this. It wasn't just a one-trick pony, wasn't a short story. They've sort of stuck around in different capacities, and it's a very, very cool storyline. Happy to get this one. Next up, we have this. This is Adjectiveless X-Men #181 from 2006. Just a book I didn't have yet. Fantastic Salvador Larroca cover featuring Dupe. Dupe is a really weird X-Men character that basically looks like a blob of green slime, kind of like Slimer from Ghostbusters. He first appeared in X-Force #116 in 2001. Yeah, great cover. Didn't have it in my run. Happy to pick it up. So that's 4. My 5th free one was this. This is Secret War. Not Secret Wars, Secret War, which was a 5-part series from 2004 by Brian Michael Bendis and Gabriel Del Otto. Everyone knows Brian Michael Bendis is a fantastic asset, a great storyteller, and Gabriel Del Otto, fantastic art. I love the covers. Each one of them is a black cover featuring one of the major characters in it. This is the 3rd issue right here. Also known, the 2nd issue is the first appearance of Quake Daisy Johnson, for those of you that watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Very cool Captain America cover. But right next to this one was another book, but this one had a $5 label. It's this. This is Secret War #1, and this one, of course, is featuring Spider-Man. Listen, when I finished my first Secret War storyline, I paid, I don't know, $10 or $15 for this book. So to find it for $5, I was pretty happy, guys. It does have one spine tick, but it's a great cover. I love this cover. Again, even though this was priced a little bit higher, $5, very happy to pick this one up for $5. And now I have an excuse to finish another Secret War set, if I can find them, digging at places like this. Very cool. This is another $5 book. Guys, listen, I'm a huge Nightcrawler fan. I thought I've seen every cool Nightcrawler cover. I'd never seen this one before, and I had to get it. All right, so this is a collaboration between Image Comics and Marvel Comics from 1997. This is Wildcats and X-Men, The Modern Age #1. So I think anyone who grew up in the 90s knows who the Wildcats are, published by Image Comics. Yeah, they decided to do a crossover where the Wildcats team was with the X-Men, and each of the 4 issues took place in a different time. So they had a Golden Age one, a Silver Age one, a Modern Age one, and a Dark Age one, which wasn't like the Dark Ages, like the Middle Ages. Instead, it was like a dystopian timeline. And yeah, it teams up the X-Men with the Wildcats. They probably fight. I've never read the series, guys. I'm pretty excited to check it out. It looked really cool. It's got Nightcrawler on it. I had to get it, but it also rang a bell. When I saw this, I was like, you know what? I have heard of that. I think I actually have an insert from a Wizard magazine promoting this. I came home and sure enough, guys, I kind of keep all like my posters and inserts and things like that together. I found it. It's this. This was presented by Wizard, so it came in Wizard magazine. This is from the year before, 1996, promoting the Wildcats and X-Men crossover. And what's really cool? Done by Jim Lee. Very cool. I couldn't believe, guys, I held on to this, and I can't believe even more that I recalled that I had it. So very cool to actually put a comic book with the poster. I'm actually happy to check it out and read it, and maybe I can get the other 3 issues. So that's pretty cool. Let me know down in the comments if any of you have ever read that title. I would love to hear from you. And the last $5 comic book that I saw, a book I've owned in the past, I still own. I can never say no to this. It's this. This is The Mighty Thor number 339 from 1984, part of the amazing Walt Simonson run. This is the 3rd appearance of Beta Ray Bill, who appeared 2 issues before this for the first time, and the first appearance of his weapon, Stormbreaker, which I think a lot of people know from Avengers Infinity War. Thor gets his new hammer, Stormbreaker. In the comic books, it belongs to Beta Ray Bill. There you go, guys. 3rd Beta Ray Bill, 1st Stormbreaker, $5. I can't say no to this book. It's in nice shape, and it's my boy Walt Simonson, a fantastic person. So all together, guys, I got all these comic books right here. What does that work out to be? $27. So, you know, didn't break the bank, nothing crazy. But the best deal that I got on this day was not these comic books. It was actually that bike I picked up for my wife. I got it really, really cheap, and it's a really nice bike. So it was a great day of bike bargains in comic book hunting. So last but certainly not least is the comic book that was the reason I wanted to make this video. It's a comic book I've wanted for a really long time. And those of you that watch the channel often may have seen me looking at this comic book at pretty much every show that I've gone to recently. Well, I happened to stop by the house of my good friend Larry, who was selling a Whatnot as Magic Geeks, along with our friend Josh. I jumped in at the tail end of this show just to say hi. As a matter of fact, they got in some great new stuff, including some original comic book art, like actually used in published works. And I was really seriously thinking about getting it. But then I found out my good friend Hayden, Next Gen Collector, was interested. So I decided to bow out and let him have it. That's totally fine. It was very cool just to have the opportunity to pick up something like that. But when I was about to leave, we went out to go get something to eat. I noticed on that back shelf, Larry was selling this book that I've wanted for a long time. I just so happened to have had my trade books in the car. I brought them inside. Larry went through, pulled out a whole bunch of stuff he thought he could sell. All stuff that I didn't care about and that I got relatively cheap. And I traded a lot of little stuff for this book right here. And I'm excited. Not only is it a book that I love the look of it and I want it in my collection because of that, but it has a very important place in comic book history. It's this. This is Green Lantern number 76 from 1970, written by Denny O'Neil, art by Neil Adams, one of my favorite artists of all time. Fantastic green cover. I mentioned on my channel in the past, guys, I love green covers, and this is one of the best ever because this Green Lantern co-starring Green Arrow. So this is actually the first issue where they start co-starring. They basically have equal billing at the top of the book. Now, this comic book, you'll notice, does go for a little bit of money and is considered a key issue, but nothing really significant happens in it other than it's the first time they start meeting up. But that's not why it's important. It's because for some people, this book here is considered the last book of the Silver Age or the first book of the Bronze Age. And to explain why, we need to sort of look at what that separation entailed. So, people remember in the early 1950s, they had the Comics Code. Before that point in time, you could basically publish anything you wanted. There was a lot of really horrific things out there. So they sort of overcompensated, came up with the Comics Code, and you really couldn't put anything controversial in comic books, right? No drug use, not even really horror at all. And that is why, you know, from the mid-50s all the way through the 60s, the Silver Age, comic books were pretty tame. You know, they were about superhero teams, and there was nothing really controversial about them. The characters were relatively safe. Nothing really bad ever happened to them. Well, in the early 1970s, they started lifting some of those restrictions on the Comics Code. More adult-themed things could now be in comic books. And because of that, there are often several different comic books that are cited as the demarcation line between the silver and bronze. A very popular choice is Amazing Spider-Man number 121, The Death of Gwen Stacy. This was a huge turning point in comics, guys. Up until this point, comic characters were safe. Nobody saw a major character die. Here we have ASM 121, 122, a major character dies. It was a shock. Some people pick that as the beginning of the Bronze Age, and other people pick this one here for several reasons. Let's go back real quick to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. This is the first time they team up to work on this comic book. For his part, Neil Adams just wanted to start working on Green Lantern. He really liked, Gil Kane's work. He thought he could build on it and really do some different things. Denny O'Neil, for his part, wanted to start putting more adult things in comic books. And both of these men had grown up in a, society where they saw a lot of racism, and they wanted to address it in comic books. Denny O'Neil specifically did not like the way that minorities in particular were treated in comics. For the most part, they were underrepresented or represented quite badly. So Denny O'Neil's living in New York in a really bad place, surrounded by poverty, and it inspires him to start talking about real issues in comics. And believe it or not, Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams only really worked on this run for about 14 issues or so, but they're widely considered incredibly influential because right off the bat, in this issue here, they make a statement about racism. And about the fact that people of color were not well represented in comic books. It's only a few panels, but basically what happens is an African-American man goes up to Hal Jordan and says, hey, you're always up in outer space, you're fighting for blue-skinned people and purple-skinned people. Explain yourself why you haven't done anything for people of color here. To which Hal Jordan hangs his head and replies, I can't. This was Denny O'Neil making a statement that he didn't think superheroes were doing enough to deal with everyday issues. It wasn't just about racism, it was about issues in real life that we, in the real world, the non-comic world, see all the time, and that Denny O'Neil was witnessing. He wanted to write about poverty and drug abuse and destroying the environment and overpopulation. He even talked a little bit about political stuff like the Nixon administration, and even I think a little bit about cults. The Charles Manson stuff happened not too long before this, but the biggest statement he made was regarding racism, and that's where it gets kicked off in this book here. So even though these guys didn't work on too many issues, every single one of them dealt with a very real problem in everyday life, and because of that, a lot of people signify that this is the beginning of the Bronze Age. This book right here, stories get more adult, and because of that, this is not only a very cool key issue where these guys start teaming up and a great green cover by Neil Adams, it is a very important one to comic book history, which is why I needed to have it in my collection. So, super stoked that I could finally get this book in my collection. It's a 5.0 off-white pages. It's got some damage on it. That's okay, guys. It presents great. It's going to look great on my shelf next to my other green books right here. And I'm very happy to trade a whole bunch of little stuff I didn't care about for something like this. Fantastic, fantastic. Happy to add it to my collection. Hopefully you guys didn't mind that little trip down comic history lane. So that's it, guys. Head on down to the comments. Let me know what you think of all my pickups. Which one do you like the best? What do you think of this comic book right here? And if you're that person that sent me that first care package, absolutely, please identify yourself down in the comments so I can thank you personally. And of course, if you're interested in Snow Monkey, I'll make sure to put a link down in my description. And that's it, guys. Keep hunting for comic books in strange and unusual places as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.